wait as I turn this into this, my DIY knotted plant hanger.
Hello, craft friends! Welcome to Social Crafts. I'm Casey Lum and the baby girl. Say hello to the baby girl. And today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful knotted plant hangers. There's no plant in it right now, so it could also be like a candle holder. You could put electric tea light in there, or you can. I like to put succulents in it, so that's why I call it a plant hanger. So I'm going to show you how to make these gorgeous beauties. Here's another one, a little smaller one. And in the video, I'm going to show you how to make the smaller one, just due to time. But I'll also explain at the end how to do this larger one. And so if you've ever seen my videos before, I love to show you in fast forward first, just in case you're short on time. I'll show you in fast forward, and if you have time to stick around after, I give you a full description of what you need and also a slower tutorial to show you to break down how you really do this craft. So without further ado, let me show you in fast forward. So welcome back. If this is your first time here, Social Crafts is all about giving you awesome craft ideas to either, one, obviously do on your own, but two, to do also as a craft party. So all these ideas, just keep in mind that you can do as a craft party with your friends, and it's just so fun to do that. I know right now we're a little bit stuck at home and we might have to craft individually, so these are great to do individual as well. If you have never been here before, we put out a new video every Wednesday, so please consider subscribing. So subscribe below, ring the little bell icon so you get all of our notifications for when we post a new video, and we would just appreciate your support that way. So let me show you exactly what we might need for this craft. It's not much. You might have it at home already, so that's what's great about this craft. So first and foremost, you need some sort of like rod. This is a wooden dowel that I've stained, but you can use a branch. You can go out and find a piece of driftwood, a branch, and you can use that. So just know you don't have to have a stained piece of dowel, but if you want this, I will put it in the description below. Everything, all the supplies are listed in the description below of where you can purchase it. So I do include links that you can just order and get everything shipped to you, and then you don't have to go out and find everything, but that's there for you as well. Also, the biggest part of this is the string, right? So we have a basic kind of fixed string. I will put it in the link below of the one I use. And we just need you don't even need this big of a spool, but it does come in this big of a spool. So you need some string. And then also a hanger comes in handy when you are working on it. Sometimes it's easy to put it on a hanger and maybe on the back of a chair or the back of a door. So that's just an easy way. Totally optional. We can figure out other ways to hang this, but that's just another way that might make it easy for you to achieve this craft. And then also a pair of scissors. Pair of scissors, dowel, string, that's like the basis of this. And then obviously whatever pot you want to use for your like bowl. So whether it's a plant hanger, whether you're gonna do a candle holder. And so see the way I do this one, you can see I have a round one in here now. But if you take this out, I can fit something like this in there. I could fit something like a square one. This one's square. I can fit this in there. So it's very versatile of what you can put in here. And I will show you how to make this size one. But for the tutorial and the sake of time, I'm showing you how to make this one, which is basically the same thing as this one, only less rows and less knotted around here. But I'll include in the description below a step-by-step on how to make the larger one as well, just so you know how to do both and whatever you want to achieve. So that's what you need. And so without further ado, let me show you how to do this craft.
So you're going to start off by cutting 20 pieces of 95-inch long string and then 3 pieces of 60-inch long string. That is, of course, for the longer plant hanger that was shown in the intro. The one I'm showing here is a little bit shorter due to time, but you can make either with these measurements. So go ahead and take the 3 pieces of 60-inch long string, put them together, and at the end you'll see here about 5 inches from the end I made an overhand knot just to secure them together. And then about 1 inch from that overhand knot, you're going to make another overhand knot. And these pieces of string we're working with are to make what the plant hanger is going to hang from. So once you have your 2 overhand knots, you can see here I'm putting the dowel in between that little space. You put 2 strings on one side, 2 strings on the other, place the dowel in the inside of those strings, and it will hang on that side from it. We're going to do the same thing on the other end after we're done braiding, but first we are going to braid the string to make it look pretty. So I hang it from an S-hook off something. You can hang it on a hanger, you can tape it to a table, whatever you want to do to just secure that string down so you can braid the string here all the way down. Just using a classic braid, I'm going all the way down until I feel like it's going to be long enough for how I want it to hang from the dowel. Once I feel like I have a good amount of braid, you don't have to braid the whole thing if it's you know, not the length you want it. I then kind of hold it up, put the dowel to it. Of course, this is upside down from what it's really going to be. And once I'm happy with the amount of string that it will hang from, I go ahead and finish off the braid with another overhand knot just to secure it and just to keep the braid in place. Make sure all those strings get in there. I lost a string there. So go ahead and make that overhand knot, pull it tight. Perfect. And then from about 1 inch from that overhand knot, you're going to make 1 more overhand knot like we did in the beginning. Pull it tight. And then I have a little bit of excess string, so I match up the 2 ends, the overhand knots, and I just cut them both so they are even. You can even fray those ends if you want, or leave them as is. Once you are done with that, go ahead and in those little inch spaces, put 2 strings to one side. Oh no, actually there's 3 strings. So 2 strings to one side, 1 string on the other side. Doesn't really matter. It'll stay secure. And do that on the other side of the dowel. And you can even super glue it down, hot glue it down if you want, but the friction alone will keep it in place. And you can see, voila, it's ready to start building. So then with the 20 pieces of 95-inch long string, we're gonna take 1 piece at a time, fold it in half, and at the middle mark where it makes a loop, put it on top of the wooden dowel, reach through the loop, and pull the 2 string ends through. Well, I'll show you here again. So we're folding the string in half, just 1 string. Where the middle point is, where the loop is, put it on top of the dowel, put your fingers through the loop on top of the dowel, pull the string through, and pull it down tight. And you're gonna continue this for the rest of the 20 pieces. So you'll have 20 pieces hanging from the dowel, each piece making 2 strings hanging down, which will then equal 40 strings hanging down off of the dowel and ready to work with. Once you have the strings on there, you don't have to worry about the spacing when you're placing them on there, but once they're all on, go ahead and start to space out the strings evenly, just to make sure your work will be super clean, everything will be even. I like to pull down to make sure those strings are tight on there too. Now you're going to take the first 4 strings that are hanging from the dowel, and you're going to do another overhand knot. So take all those 4 strings, put them together, make an overhand knot, and tighten it about 1 inch down from the dowel. So in macrame, we're not using a macrame knot this time, but in macrame, you can use a different type of knot. It's the same technique of where you place the knots, it's just a different knot. Below in the description, I have included the macrame square knot in case you want to use that instead of these overhand knots. But for the ease of the tutorial, I'm using an overhand knot and I think it still looks beautiful. So then you take the next 4 strings and you make an overhand knot with those 4. And you're going to continue that all the way down using 4 strings at a time, taking the 4 strings that are hanging from the dowel and doing an overhand knot and making sure that row is pretty straight. So you want to make sure that the row of knots are all even. So I like to make the knot, make it kind of loose, position it, and then pull it tight to make sure that they are all in a row, because that's gonna matter of what makes your work look clean or not clean. So go ahead and finish that all the way until the end. Next, oh, you can see here I'm just tightening it up, cleaning it up, making sure they're even. Next, you're going to work on the next row. So from that first knot all the way to the left, you're going to disregard 2 of the strings. Disregard them, you're not going to work with them. Take 2 of the strings from that first knot, 2 of the strings from the second knot, and then you're going to make an overhand knot again with those 4 strings. And I'm placing it about 1 inch down from the first row of knots. Gets a little tricky sometimes, like to slide around, just kind of play with it. If it doesn't look right, you can always undo the knot and re-knot it. Then you're going to take the remaining 2 strings from that knot, take 2 strings from its neighboring knot, and make an overhand knot with those 4 strings. And you're going to continue that through the rest of the row, taking 2 strings from one knot, joining it with the strings from 2 strings from the neighboring knot, and continuing to make overhand knots in that row. Again, making sure the row looks pretty straight, all the knots look pretty straight to one another. So just continue that for the whole second row until you reach the end, and at the end you will have 2 strings remaining that you're going to disregard and not work with, just like you did in the beginning. So for the third row, we're going to bring those 2 strings back in that we disregarded, grab 2 strings from that first knot, and then you're going to make another overhand knot about 1 inch down from that last row. You can see a pattern here. You can kind of see what we're doing here. You want to make sure when you tighten the knots, you're tightening them pulling downward on the strings instead of to the side, or else you'll start to get these weird bunching of the strings in between the knots. And if it does look weird, just, undo it and redo it. Nothing wrong with that. So then you're going to take the 2 remaining strings from that knot, join them with the neighboring knot, make an overhand knot, and like you see we did before, continue this till the end, making this row about 1 inch down from the last row, tightening it, making it look really straight. This is where we're gonna stop these rows for this plant hanger. If you're doing the longer plant hanger, you're gonna end up doing 2 more rows of this. Next, pick up your planter and just see kind of where you want it to hang. I'm you know, playing with the strings because that's how they're gonna end up kind of looking when we make the whole netting part of it. So just kind of see where you want it to hang. So to start the bowl, the netting part of the plant hanger, you're going to take 2 strings from the very left knot, 2 strings from the very right knot, have them meet in the middle where you want the bowl to start, and you're going to make another overhand knot. If you are working with the longer, if you're wanting to make the longer plant hanger, you can leave more space in between these rows and where you're starting to make this netting bowl area. Feel free to leave it as long as you want. But to keep it in the frame, I had to make it a little shorter. So then you make an overhand knot in the middle. Then from the very left knot, you have 2 strings left over. Take those 2 strings and then take 2 strings from the neighboring knot. It's kind of hard to see, but take 2 strings from the neighboring knot, the next knot over, and you are going to make an overhand knot, tightening it to be even to that center knot that you just did. Then you'll see 2 remaining strings from the knot you just worked with. Grab 2 strings from the next knot over, its neighbor, so it's the next knot over, and make a knot again even to the ones that you just made. And you're going to continue this all the way around till you reach the end, all the way to the right. And this is the beginning of the netting bowl that you were going to make that will hold your planter. You know, it gets a little tricky sometimes with that middle knot, so I like to flip that middle knot up just to get it out of the way so I can finish working with the rest of it. And then when you get all the way to the right, you'll see your 2 remaining strings that you used from that knot that you did in the center, and you'll finish it off. For the next row, take your middle knot that you did, take 2 strings from that, 2 strings from your knot all the way to the left, and you're going to join them so they meet in the middle of those 2 knots. And you can kind of put your planter in there, see how it's looking, see if it looks right. And then you're going to make an overhand knot so it sits in between those 2 knots, but is about, you know, 1.5 inches sewed down from that middle knot. It just depends. If you have a bigger planter, if you have a bigger pot, you want to make that space in between those knots larger, but if you have a smaller one, you want to make them smaller. So just kind of play with it. Again, you can always do them, and if it doesn't feel right or doesn't feel like it's going to hold your pot, you can always undo it and do it again. And then also, like I said, try to pull downward when you tighten the knot, just so it all sits evenly and there's no weird bunching in the strings. You can see there's kind of some weird bunching, so I was pulling it to make sure they all sit even of each other. Place the planter in there, see how it's looking. Then from that knot that you just worked with, you'll see 2 strings hanging out by themselves. Again, take those 2 strings, take 2 strings from its neighbor, the next knot over, and make a overhand knot and tighten it even to that row of knots you're just working with. You're going to continue this Taking the 2 strings from one knot and 2 strings from the next knot, you're going to continue this all the way around. Again, you're kind of working in a circle now since you're working with making a netting kind of pot area that you place your planter. So you're going to work all the way around until no more strings are left. Alright, and then to finish it off, I place the planter in there. I take one other extra piece of string, just cut an extra piece of string kind of long, and I start to wrap it around the bottom of where the pot is. I wrap it around a few times, and then in the back I just tie a knot to hide it, and I leave those strings hanging long so it fades in with the rest of the fringe. You can't even see it. And then I just work out the spacing there, make sure everything's spaced right. You can even fringe the bottom part if you want, or you can leave it as is. And there you go, you have your plant hanger. So gorgeous.
So I hope your craft turned out so amazing. Like I said, I did show you this one in the tutorial, and this one has 3 knot rows across, and then 3 levels down in the pocket area. So then this one has 5 rows up here, and then let's see how many down here. 4 rows in the pocket area. And so that's all you really need to know when making this. Again, they're the same amount across. They are longer strings, and I'll give you all the string lengths in the description below. And then this one's really just a larger version of this with more rows and more area, like more netting in the pocket area. So that's really what you have to know about achieving these 2 ones. I showed you this one. There is a PDF download in the description below of how to achieve this one. So that's all there for you, but I hope it turned out great. And if you did do this craft, I always love to see it. So please make sure you tag us in your pictures at Social Crafts or hashtag Social Crafts, and we'll see them on Instagram, or I think, yeah, Instagram, to pin us there. And then also I just love being in touch with you outside of YouTube. So subscribe or follow us at Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube. No, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook. Hello, long day. Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find all of our information right here to get more ideas, to be in touch with us outside of YouTube. And then of course, if you liked this video, please thumbs up it. It helps us out tremendously. And also don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe here, ring a little notification bell so you get notifications when I post a new video. And that just helps us out tremendously. We just love being in touch with you. So thank you so much for following us. Until next time, we'll give you some new crafts. We'll see you then.